Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to explore something pretty mind-bending.
I think so.
Today, we're diving deep into the dark forest hypothesis.
Ooh, spooky.
It's a theory that tries to answer that age-old question, why haven't we met any aliens yet?
Right, like with all the stars and planets out there.
Exactly. And we're going to be using this article by Alvi Chanti. He's a sci-fi author who really digs into this concept. So, to kick things off, can you give us the elevator pitch for the dark forest hypothesis?
Yeah, so imagine the universe is like this, like a dark forest,
Okay,
right?
I'm picturing it.
And every civilization is like a hunter, but they're also prey. They have to be super careful about making any noise, because if they do,
Uh-oh.
they might attract something dangerous.
So it's like a cosmic game of hide and seek, but the stakes are, well, kind of terrifying.
Pretty much.
So to understand why this idea even came about, we need to talk about the Fermi Paradox.
Right, right.
Now, I've heard the name Fermi Paradox before, but honestly, it's always sounded a bit intimidating.
Oh, it's not that bad once you break it down. Basically, it's this question that physicist Enrico Fermi posed back in 1950. He was having lunch with some other scientists, just casually chatting about extraterrestrial life. And then, out of the blue, he asks, "Where is everybody?"
Wait, so just like that, over sandwiches?
It was a pretty casual setting, yeah. But his question, simple as it seems, really gets to the heart of things. I mean, think about it. Billions of stars out there, many way older than our own sun.
Yeah.
So plenty of time for, some really advanced civilizations to have developed, right?
And logically, you'd think at least a few of those civilizations would have figured out interstellar travel by now.
Right. And if they had, statistically speaking, they should have spread throughout the galaxy. But, well, we don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like expecting a crowded house party, and then you show up and it's just, well, us, so where's the disconnect?
Yeah.
Chanti's articles seem to suggest that maybe we're making some faulty assumptions about, well, aliens, right?
Yeah, he really challenges those assumptions, like the idea that all alien civilizations would want to colonize the galaxy or that they'd even be able to, given the mind-boggling challenges of interstellar travel.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. First up, this whole idea of colonizing the galaxy. Is that something we can just assume every advanced species would want to do?
I mean, we tend to think so, right? Based on, our own history of exploring and spreading out. But Shanti argues that could be a very human-centric perspective.
It's like, just because we have this urge to conquer and expand doesn't mean every other civilization out there shares that same drive.
Exactly. What if other civilizations prioritize things like sustainability or just have completely different values that don't involve, conquering the stars?
Right. Like maybe some civilizations reach a certain technological level and decide, hey, this is good enough. We'd rather focus on, I don't know, art or philosophy or perfecting the ultimate pizza recipe.
Or maybe their environment just doesn't push them in that direction, like Shanti's example of an aquatic civilization. They might be super intelligent, but they're never going to smelt metal, so spaceships are kind of off the table.
That's a really interesting point. It's like we often assume that technological progress follows this linear path. But what if it takes all sorts of weird and wonderful detours depending on the environment and the aliens themselves?
Exactly. We can't just use our own technological journey as a blueprint for all civilizations.
But even if we do assume the civilization wants to reach for the stars, the practical challenges of interstellar travel seem pretty insurmountable, at least from our current understanding.
Oh, yeah. The distances involved are just mind-bogglingly huge, even traveling at a significant fraction of the speed of light. Journeys could take centuries, or even millennia.
I mean, I love sci-fi as much as the next person, but the reality is it's not just about hopping in a sleek spaceship and zipping across the galaxy.
And then you have the whole issue of relativistic speeds.
Uh-oh. Relativistic speeds. Now you're getting into the physics textbook stuff.
Basically, it means that the faster you go, the weirder things get with time and space.
Okay, you officially lost me.
Imagine a spacecraft traveling at near light speed. Time would actually slow down for those on board compared to those back on Earth. So what might be a few years for the crew could be centuries back home.
So you reach your destination, and everyone you knew back on Earth is long gone. Talk about a one-way ticket.
And even if you could deal with the whole time dilation thing, space itself is pretty dangerous.
Oh yeah, all those asteroids and cosmic rays and whatnot.
Even a tiny particle of space dust when you're moving at those speeds could cause catastrophic damage.
Yeah, I'm starting to rethink my whole romantic vision of space travel. It's a lot less glamorous than the movies make it out to be.
And we haven't even touched on the energy requirements for such a journey. They'd be astronomical, pun intended.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like maybe interstellar travel is just way harder than we tend to imagine. And that maybe, just maybe, that's one reason why we haven't encountered any aliens yet.
It's certainly a possibility.
So maybe the real reason we haven't encountered any aliens isn't because they're all hiding in some cosmic forest, but because getting from point A to point B across the vastness of space is just, well, really, really difficult.
That's one possible explanation. And it kind of leads to another interesting question. Even if aliens could travel easily, would they even bother with us?
Okay, now I'm feeling a bit insulted.
Yeah.
Are we not interesting enough for a cosmic meet and greet?
Well, think about it from their perspective. If you're a civilization that's millions of years ahead of us technologically, you might look at us
Yeah.
like a relatively young species still struggling with our own planet, and they might just not see any compelling reason to make contact.
Oh, so it's like us trying to have a deep conversation with, like, a colony of ants. We might acknowledge their existence, but wouldn't necessarily feel the need to, I don't know, invite them over for tea and biscuits.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It raises this whole question of what constitutes contact from an alien perspective. Maybe they're observing us in ways we can't even fathom.
Ooh, that's getting into some pretty spooky territory. And speaking of observing, what about the idea that aliens have already visited Earth in the past? The whole paleo contact theory.
Right, ancient aliens and all that.
Chauncey seems pretty skeptical about those claims.
He is. He basically asks, why would an incredibly advanced civilization bother interacting with what were essentially primitive humans back then?
Okay, so probably no ancient astronaut theorists hanging out with cavemen.
Probably not.
But here's where I think things get really interesting. Chauncey seems pretty optimistic that even if alien life forms look and act completely different from us, we could still find ways to understand them.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
He believes that the laws of physics and chemistry are universal, right? I mean, the periodic table doesn't just magically change because you're on a different planet.
Right. And the same evolutionary pressures that drive life here on Earth, things like natural selection and adaptation, those would likely apply throughout the universe.
So even if we encountered some truly bizarre alien creatures, there's a good chance we'd still see recognizable patterns in their biology and even their behavior.
Yeah, because they'd still be shaped by the same fundamental forces that shape life everywhere.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The Fermi Paradox, the challenges of interstellar travel, the possibility that aliens might simply not be interested in us, or that they're so advanced we can't even perceive them. But now I think it's time to delve into the heart of this whole dark forest idea.
The idea that the universe is actually a dangerous place for civilizations to reveal themselves.
Exactly. Why would that be? What makes the universe so scary?
Well, that's where things start to get really interesting and maybe a little bit unsettling.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. Let's venture deeper into this cosmic forest and see what we find. Okay, so we've established that the universe might be a lot quieter than we expect, but now we're getting into the why of it all. This dark forest idea, it's not exactly a comforting thought, is it?
It definitely makes you think twice about humanity's place in the cosmos, that's for sure.
All right, so break it down for me. Why would the universe be like, I don't know, a dark, dangerous forest where civilizations have to stay hidden?
Well, the dark forest hypothesis suggests that any civilization that reveals its presence, it risks attracting unwanted attention.
Okay, so like shouting, "Here I am,"
Yeah.
in a dark forest full of predators, not exactly a smart move.
Right, right. And the hypothesis assumes that any civilization advanced enough to travel between stars, they'd probably be very powerful
And potentially dangerous.
and potentially dangerous. And in a universe where resources are finite, it might be safer to stay silent and hidden than to risk drawing attention to yourself.
It's like a cosmic version of survival of the fittest, but on a galactic scale.
Yeah, that's the basic idea. Any civilization that's out there, they're going to be looking out for their own interests. And they might view other intelligent life as a potential threat.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this whole dark forest metaphor works. But isn't this all just speculation? I mean, we haven't actually met any hostile aliens.
True, true. The dark forest hypothesis is more of a thought experiment, a way of trying to make sense of the Fermi paradox.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a proven fact, but it definitely raises some interesting questions.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you think about the potential consequences of encountering a civilization that's way more advanced than us.
Okay, like imagine making contact with a species that views us the way we view, I don't know, ants.
Exactly. So maybe blasting out our coordinates to the entire galaxy isn't the best idea.
Yeah, I'm starting to rethink my stance on that whole let's send messages to aliens thing. But are there any potential upsides to this dark forest scenario? I mean, does it have to be all doom and gloom?
Well, one positive outcome is that it forces us to think more critically about our own behavior and, the long-term consequences of our actions.
So, like, maybe instead of focusing on becoming some kind of galactic superpower, we should be putting more effort into ensuring our own planet's sustainability.
Exactly, exactly. The dark forest hypothesis kind of highlights the fragility of civilizations and the importance of responsible stewardship, both of our own planet and our place in the cosmic ecosystem.
It also adds another layer of complexity to the whole already mind-boggling question of whether we're alone in the universe.
Yeah, that's for sure. And even if we never encounter another intelligent civilization, just the act of contemplating these possibilities, it really expands our understanding of the universe and our place within it.
I can definitely say this deep dive is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about space exploration. So what's next? If we accept that the universe might be this, well, this dangerous place, what are our options? Do we just hunker down on Earth and hope for the best?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, there are a lot of different approaches we could take, each with its own set of risks and rewards.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Let's explore those options and see where they lead us. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time in this cosmic forest, and honestly, it's starting to feel a little creepy in here.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think twice about, blasting our presence out to the entire universe.
Exactly, but we can't just stay hidden forever, can we? I mean, what are our options if we actually want to, like, explore space safely?
That's the big question, isn't it? And there are a few strategies that have been tossed around, each with its own, pros and cons and ethical dilemmas and all that.
Hit me with it. What are we talking about here?
Well, one idea is cosmic stealth.
Cosmic stealth.
Yeah, basically trying to minimize our footprint in the cosmos, make ourselves as undetectable as possible.
So, like, turning off all the lights and whispering in space?
Kind of. It would involve reducing our electromagnetic emissions. Things like radio waves, radar signals, even the light pollution from our cities. Basically make our planet a lot quieter.
So no more blasting out our favorite pop songs to the aliens?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a small price to pay for cosmic survival. But wouldn't that also make it harder for us to find other civilizations?
Yeah, that's the trade-off, right? You reduce the risk of being spotted by something dangerous, but you also might miss out on connecting with, the friendly aliens out there.
It's like choosing between hiding in a bunker or venturing out into the unknown blindfolded.
Exactly. It's a tough choice.
Are there any other approaches that maybe, I don't know, strike a better balance?
Well, there's the opposite approach. It's often called MEDI, messaging extraterrestrial intelligence.
So instead of hiding, we'd be intentionally sending out messages, hoping to make contact.
Exactly. Basically saying, hey, we're here, come say hi.
But isn't that kind of risky? I mean, given everything we've been talking about.
Well, yeah, it has its critics for sure. But the people who support MEDI, they argue that the potential benefits outweigh the risks. Think about it. The scientific knowledge, the cultural exchange, maybe even forming alliances with other civilizations.
I can see the appeal, I have to admit. Making contact with another intelligent species, that would be huge. But I can't shake this feeling of uneasiness. What if we ping the wrong civilization? What if we're just not ready for what's out there?
Those are all valid concerns, no doubt. That's why this whole MEDI debate is so complex. Any decision we make is going to have huge consequences.
So we got cosmic stealth on one end of the spectrum, EDI on the other. I'm guessing there's a whole lot of options in between.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's passive SETI, where we keep listening for signals, but we don't broadcast anything ourselves. There's also the idea of developing defensive technologies, just in case.
Okay, so like building some kind of planetary shield.
Well, we're not quite there technologically, but, the idea is to have some form of protection if we ever need it.
This is all pretty mind-blowing. It's like we're playing this cosmic chess game, and every move we make could have consequences we can't even imagine.
Yeah, it really makes you think about our responsibility as a species, doesn't it? We're
Yeah.
not just exploring space for fun anymore. We have to be smart about it.
It also makes you wonder if there are other civilizations out there that have survived for, millions of years. What are they doing? Are they hiding, reaching out, defending themselves? Maybe there are lessons we can learn from them.
Yeah, maybe they've figured out how to navigate this whole dark forest thing, maybe even transcend it.
Now, that's a hopeful thought.
Definitely. The dark forest hypothesis may seem kind of bleak, but it also reminds us how important wisdom and foresight are. And ultimately, the future of humanity in space, well, it's not set in stone. It's something we're actively shaping right now.
That's a good point. So what's the takeaway message for our listeners? What should they be thinking about after listening to all this?
Just stay curious, keep asking questions, and remember, even in a universe that might be full of unknowns, there's always room for hope and ingenuity. And maybe, just maybe, we'll find a way to connect with other intelligent life out there, in a safe and meaningful way.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the dark forest. And to all our listeners out there, thanks for listening and keep looking up at the stars. There's a whole universe of possibilities out there.